Alright, what's up, what's up? It is the last video of this unit, and we are tackling how to graph a system of linear inequalities. That just means you have more than one inequality, you gotta graph them both and see what happens. Alright, so here's the steps. It's very similar to the inequalities one. You gotta graph both equations. And remember, if it's a dash, it's a dashed line if there's no equal to symbol. If it has an equal to symbol, it's going to be a solid line. Don't forget that. Take that with you. Take that with you forever. Number two, you got to shade that line. You got to shade it where it's true and where it's false. So remember, if it's true at 0, 0, you're shading 0, 0. If it's not true at 0, 0, you're shading the other side. And you got to darken where the shading overlaps. It's the biggest thing. Those are going to tell us where the values are true. But let's go ahead and tackle example number 1. So both of these problems are in standard form. So we got to find where it's going to cross my x and where it's going to cross my y. So for my x, you can see that it's going to cross at 3/2. Okay, remember that's 1.5. Don't be intimidated by fractions. And our y is going to cross at -3. So let's go ahead and graph that line. Let's do that one in a fun orange color. Nice little orange for you. Alright, so my x is at 1.5. That's about right here. And my y is at -3. That's right about there. Perfect. So dashed to solid. Remember, if it has the equal to symbol, it's going to be solid. This one does not, so it's going to be dashed. There's our dashed beautiful line. Now we got to do our shading. Our shading, that's our next step. So we're going to plug in our 0, 0 to our first one. So we're going to have 2 times 0 minus 0 is greater than 3. Well, is 0 greater than 3? Excuse me. Is 0 greater than 3? It's totes not greater than 3. So you're going to shade not 0, 0. You're shading the other side. Look at that firepower. Alright, now let's go ahead and graph our second line. Let's do that one in a beautiful blue. So you got our x and our y. Well, our x is going to be at 1, and our y is going to be at 2. So, here's your point at 1. Here's your point at 2. Now we got to figure out dashed or solid. Remember, if it has the equal to symbol, it's going to be solid. This one does not, so it's dashed again. Don't forget those arrows. Don't forget them. Don't forget them. All right, let's test our 0, 0. So we got 2 times 0 plus 0 is greater than 2. Well, is 0 greater than 2? No, it's not. So we're going to shade in beautiful green the other side of 0, 0. So that's this side. And then lastly, we need to see where the shading overlaps. So we're looking for our green and red mix, our little Christmassy mix, and that is right here. So what you want to do is shade it. Darken it as much as possible, because these are the values that are going to be true for both lines. All right. Let's go to the next one. Example number 2. So we got to graph these inequalities. That's the first step we got to do. Let's tackle the first one. So we know that it's going to cross our y-intercept at 4. So there's our 4. And it's saying the slope is 2 over 1. So it's going to be going up 2, 1, 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Down 2, back 1, down 2, back 1, down 2, back 1, down 2, back 1. Alright, cool, I got enough dots to keep me happy. Now, dashed or solid. This one's going to be a dashed line. Now let's go ahead and do my test point. So we're plugging in 0, 0. So we have 0 is less than 2 times 0 plus 4. So 0 is less than 4. True or false? That is totes true. So that means we're shading 0, 0, which is on this side of our inequality. So there's our first one. Now let's go ahead and graph our second one. Let's do that one in a nice, let's do a green color. So it's going to be this one. So this one's in standard form. That one's a little different. So you got to find where it's going to cross your x, where it's going to cross your y. So my x is going to cross at -2. And my y is going to cross at -3. So let's graph that. My x is at -2. That's right here. And my y is at -3. That's right here. So dashed or solid line. It has the equal to, so that means it's going to be a solid line. There we go. Beautiful. Now let's do our shading. So you're plugging in 0, 0. So we've got -3 times 0 minus 2 times 0 is greater than 6. So pretty much it's saying 0 is greater than 6. Greater than equal to, excuse me. Yeah, that is not true. So we do not want to shade 0, 0. That's on this side of my line. Now we got to figure out where do they overlap. We're looking for a purple and red mix. That's right about here. So we're going to color and darken in this area because these are all the areas where it's true. Makes a beautiful triangle. Example number 3. We've got to graph these inequalities. We'll do the first one in blue again. So cross is your axis at 4. And our slope is -1. So it's going to go down 1, back 1, down 1, back 1, down 1, back 1, down 1, back 1, or up 1, over 1. Good, we got it. Remember, negative slopes make an N. Don't forget. So, dashed or solid line. It has the equal to, so that means we're going to be doing a solid line. So there's our first one. Now let's do our shading. We'll do this one in a blue as well. So you're plugging in 0, 0. So 0 is greater than or equal to 0 plus 4. So 0 is greater than 4. Yeah, no, it's not. So you want to shade above. You do not want to shade 0, 0. Well, now let's do our second line. Well, that one in green. Actually, let's do red. Let's get some red up in here. So we've got our x value, which will cross at 2, and our y value, which will cross at -4. And remember, we're just doing, I'm getting all this stuff from what we did our last unit, is you're plugging in 0, and you're solving for that variable. So our x is at 2, and our y is at -4. So, dashed or solid line, it has the equal to, so it's going to be a solid line. Looking like that. Now let's go ahead and do our shading. So we've got 0, 0 to plug in. So we'll have 2 times 0 minus 0 is less than or equal to 4. So it's saying 0 is less than or equal to 4. That is true, so that means you're shading this side because you want to shade 0, 0. And you got to look and see where they overlap, where you got the mix between blue and red. And that is right here. So you need to darken that in so we can see where they overlap. Cool, that was example number 3. Example number 4. I'm going to go through this one a little quicker just so I don't waste your time with this. But for the first one, remember it crosses at 4. And our slope is 2 over 1, so it's going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, or down 2 and back 1, down 2 and back 1. This is going to be a dashed line because it has the equal, well, it doesn't have the equal to sign, excuse me. Now we got to do our shading. So with our shading, you're plugging in 0, 0. So you've got 0 is less than 4, and that is true. So you want to shade 0, 0. That's this side. Now let's graph our second line. Do this one in yellow. So our x is going to cross at 2, and our y will cross at -4. So we got 1 at 2, and we got 1 at -4. This is going to be a solid line. Make sure you get your arrows. Now let's do our shading. do our shading. So you're plugging in 0, 0. So you have 2 times 0 minus 0 is less than 4. So 0 is less than 4. That is true. That is true. So you want to shade this side of your line. So remember, you got to shade where they overlap. So you got to shade where they overlap. So that's your black and your yellow. So I'm going to shade it nice and dark in the middle, because that is where they're overlapping. And you can see the parallel lines, and it's beautiful. So last thing I want to talk about is writing a system given the graph. So remember, you'll have your y for both of them. And you got to figure out where they cross. So for the red line, we'll do that red line, and this one's blue. Well, the red line, it crosses at 2, so that's plus 2. And the blue line, it crosses at minus 2, or negative 2. Now you got to find your slopes. So we got, let's see, a point here. So to get to where we are, looks a little something like that. So you're going up 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going over 1, 2, 3, 4. So the slope for your blue line is 1. So that just gives you x. The slope for your red line looks like you're going up 6 and over 1, 2, 3. So 6 divided by 3 gives you 2. So that gives you 2x. And lastly, you got to tell me the shading. So remember, you're plugging in 0, 0. So you got 0 for x, and you got your 2 left over. Well, for your red line, you can see that it does shade 0, 0, so you want it to be true. And it's a solid line, so that will be our inequality. And then for the blue line, you see it's a dashed line, so you're not going to have the equal to symbol. And it's going to be, when you plug 0, 0, you have 0, negative 2. And you want it to be true as well. So 0 is greater than negative 2. So that will be your inequality symbol. And these will be your two inequalities given that graph. Just for time, I'm going to not do example number 6, but if you want to see more on that, please just ask your teacher and I'll let you know. I hope you guys enjoyed the systems of equations. I know they can be challenging, but I think you guys will do a fantastic job. If you have any questions, let me know. Adios!